This is a class that's not in the order of the classes. There was one class that we did not record, and this must be like on the second or the third day of the class. It's in the bottom of the second paragraph, the bottom of the second paragraph. Bottom of the second paragraph, and it's talking about the difference between Chachma and Bina, and we did this before in class, but we'll do it over again, okay? Good? Moshe, you with me? Yeah. Yes. Ve'inyanu. Okay, so before he said, how does it go in the Sfirot? There's Chachma, and below that there's Bina. Chachma means, it's translated as wisdom, and Bina means understanding. But the wisdom is not really very descriptive, properly descriptive. Chachma is described as faith, or total surrender to the Creator, above understanding. And Bina is understanding. So the Rebbe said, really, Bina is higher than Chachma. Even though that in the order of things, Chachma, and then under that is Bina. And of course, Chachma, the faith, can reach to much higher levels of awareness of God than understanding can. Understanding is limited by its nature. And of course, God is unlimited. The only way you can grasp, if you want to say, relate to God in a true way, is through Chachma. It's through Chachma, because Chachma is the power of the soul that is faith, that it's above understanding. So it's, okay, good? Okay, you understand? So the Chachma is really above Bina. Nevertheless, he said, in their source, Bina, the power of understanding is higher. So let's go through, okay? The Indian is like this. Hine, behold, Bina, understanding. Hagam, even though, Shemakabel, that it receives mi Chachma from faith.
Where is it?
First word in line is BMA.
Oh, BMA.
Okay, the Inyan, the topic is like this. The explanation is that Hine, how can it be that Bina, which is lower than Chachma, understanding is lower than faith, nevertheless in its source is higher. We'll see. Bina, Hagam, even though, Shemakabel, that it receives from Chachma, that it receives from faith. Now we're talking about here the godly soul, so we're talking about understanding God and having faith in God. So being understanding God, even though that it receives from faith in God, and first of all, you have to have faith that God exists, and then you can understand Him. A little at least. Nevertheless, even though that one receives from the other, the Bina receives, Eina Mishtal Shalat, it is not created mi Chachma from Chachma. Rak only Shemakabelet, it accept from Chachma. Aval, but lo not shehabina, that understanding atzmo itself, mishtal shelet, is created. Mishtal shelet means it chains down. Okay, chains down. Mi chachma, from chachma, but it means it chains down. And this, to make it simpler, it's created. We don't say that bina is created from chachma.
But its source is from Chachma.
Its source is much higher than chachma. But it's inspired by Chachma. It's inspired by Chachma. Something like, I don't create you, right? But in this class, I'm the teacher, and you're the pupil, so you're inspired by me. You're taught by me, right? You accept from me. If there were no teachers, then the world would be a very bad place. There was nobody to teach anybody else, it would be very bad. Everybody would just be, just go according to their animal. A person would be at 70 the same way he was when he was 7, right? He'd just do whatever he wanted to, you have to have people to teach each other. You have to have teachers. Chachma teaches Bina. Right? Same thing, let's say, take another example. Let's say that I am a tremendous genius in Hasidus. A tremendous genius. I understand, right? The Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, the greatest genius in Kabbalah, and we are all affected by him, but he doesn't create us. We're not created by him. The same thing. Bina accepts, it receives, it's inspired from Chachma. Understanding is inspired from faith in God. Right? If you have faith in God, that inspires all the time your understanding of God. As soon as you lose your faith in God, then your understanding, it's a different type of understanding. We'll talk about that later. The understanding is dead. It's academic. Right? If you have faith in God, then you can have a feeling, a sense that it's alive. It's like plugged in. You're plugged into something that's totally bigger than you yourself. Bina, on the other hand, is exactly the opposite. Bina means you encompass the ideas that you have. You understand. You're the boss. And you're the boss. So you have to have both. But nevertheless, Bina is a higher source. The Rebbe is going to say why? Because Bina comes from a separate source than Chachma. Bina is not created from Chachma. Right? Understanding is not created from faith. Understanding God is not created.
In purely Kabbalistic terms, like it's entirely against my understanding. That Bina always, has its source in Chokmah, that the left comes from right. You're saying it comes from somewhere totally different.
Yeah, totally different. Totally different. Even though it seems, but the Rebbe will explain more. I'll explain more. Even though it sort of seems that it does, because one is higher than the other, but it's really not so, right? It's not so. I'll give you maybe another example. Let's say, for instance, like we say, okay, I am, we have the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Lubavitcher Rebbe teaches us, he has all these wonderful ideas, tremendous understanding, has a tremendous faith and connection to God. And from his connection to God, we get our connection to God, right? He says, no, it's not so. From the Lubavitcher Rebbe's connection to God and his understanding, that inspires us that we can connect ourselves to our connection to God. Understand? It's not that his connection of God, so I believe in the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe believes in God. And through that, it's not the way it goes, right? It goes, yes, it's true, I have to believe in the Rebbe, we have to believe in Talmidei Chachamim, in the Tzaddikim, we have to believe in them, that there is such a thing. The people, it says, Vayaminu b'Hashem, u'b'Moshe Avdu, that the people believed in God and in Moses. But what really was the goal? Not just to believe in Moses, but to believe in the same God that Moses believes in. Right? That's what it means. In other words, you're supposed to be like Moses, to have that same level of faith. But in order to do that, it has to be your faith. Right? So Moses, the Rebbe, doesn't create my faith. I have to create my faith, but he inspires it. He educates it. He feeds it. It makes it strong. We had the previous Maamar, you weren't here, that Moses feeds the faith of the Jewish people. Raya Mahemna, he's called the faithful shepherd. He shepherds the faith of the Jewish people. So even inside of ourselves, our faith in God does not create our understanding of God. But our faith in God enables our understanding of God. It enhances our understanding of God. Right? But it could be that I can read the writings, let's say, of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, take an example, and not believe in God at all. I can just be a very, very super academic person, and I read the writings of the Rebbe the same way that I read the writings of Albert Einstein or of Isaac Newton, right? I don't have to believe in anything. I just, academic, right? Just an academic person. I read once a book on history. Some guy wrote a book on history, and it was the Jewish history. And there were a lot of facts that were, I was very impressed by it until I got to what he wrote about Chabad. And he wrote, that as soon as a person becomes a Rebbe, he assumes the name Schneerson. He said about foolish things. But the fact is why did he say foolish things? Because he really wasn't connected to the truth. He was connected to facts. Right? He wasn't connected to the real truth. He was connected to, ideas, not facts. But ideas, you want to write ideas. Same thing, you can write ideas, you can have wonderful ideas and not be connected to the truth. Right? Being connected to the truth, that's what we call emunah, faith. Faith, that's called being attracted to the truth. Even in simple life, you don't even have to have, right, not even Judaism. A person believes you have to be honest. Honesty is the best policy. Why do you say that? I believe it. Here you have the guy has a chance to lie, to steal. He doesn't do it. Why doesn't he do it? I'm a man of principle. Well, where did you get these principles from? I don't know. That's my principle. Right? I have principles. He has a faith. It's above understanding. Right? These people, they're the patriotism. Patriotism. Another thing, it's above understanding. It doesn't make any difference. Why is it when the English flag comes up, is this person starts crying? When the French flag comes up, this guy starts, what does he start crying for? What's he crying about? He says, because I'm from England. So that makes you cry when you see the flag. Well, what's the connection, right? When France won the Wimbledon, what it is, the championships, everybody in France is going crazy. And they say, what are you going crazy? It's a person. He happened to be. He's born in France. Okay, maybe you don't even like the guy. Right? Why France. It's Russia. He's willing to give his life for his country. It's a certain type of faith. It's a certain type of... But here we're talking about faith in God. That's called chachma, in God. Okay, let's go. The Eil of all cause, it says, the Bina from Chachma, Eino is not on the level of Hishtalshlus, of a chain of cause and effect. The Eil of Allah, the cause and effect, Okay, you with me? You have it? First word in line is Bina.
Yes.
Good? Debina. Good? The Bina from Chachma, that understanding, from faith. Eino bebechinet is not in a way of hishtalshlus, a chain, ila ve'alol, cause and effect. The ila ve'alol, that cause and effect, who is sha'ila, that the cause, mechayevet, it obligates. Let's say, the word I used is create. The word create is really not the right word, but it's the best word that we can use. Like, that Beethoven created his symphony. He didn't really create anything. He just rearranged things. But we use that word create. So let's say, the ila, that the cause, mechayevet, it obligates or it creates et ha'alul, the result. For every action, there is an equal action. Now, in this case, it's not opposite. We'll see. Ukamo, for instance, seichel v'midos. For instance, intellect and emotions. Now, what is intellect and emotions? You are given, let's say, a diamond, and you don't know what a diamond is. And you really need money. You're hungry. Your family is hungry. You haven't got a place to live. And you're given a diamond. The diamond is worth $10 million. Right? But you don't know what a diamond is. And you don't believe it's possible that $10 million. You've never seen such a lump sum before in your life. And even if you do, you don't even know that it's yours. Right? So someone comes and explains to you. Someone comes to explain to you. You just won a diamond. Or you win the lottery. Right? You win the lottery. Someone comes and explains to you, you just won the lottery. You just won a diamond. This diamond is worth $10 million. Thanks a lot. Do you know what the lottery is? No. You know what a diamond is? No. I know what food is, and I know what a house is, and I don't have either one of them. That's what I need. So listen, my friend, this diamond is worth $10 million. Okay, you say so. You're willing to give me the money. I need some food. Maybe a couple sandwiches. My family says, let me explain it to you. Right? So they explain it to the person. What a diamond is. They show him books. Right? Diamonds. The guy shows him his certificates that he's a diamond appraiser. And this belongs to you. He shows him a letter that this thing belongs to you. This diamond hereby belongs to, what's your name? Write his name down. Little by little, as soon as he starts to understand, all of a sudden, right? Or he hears in the nighttime, right? You call him up, Mr. Farbish, yes. Sam Farbish, yes. You just won the lottery, the international lottery. Yeah? Oh, good. How much? $20 million. Wow. It's what happens at that second that he understands. He understands what is the lottery, and he understands that he won the lottery, and he understands that money actually belongs to him. Right? He understands the general concept of what a lottery is. Then he understands the details of what a lottery is. Then he understands it belongs to him. That's Chachma, Bina, Das. Chachma is a general idea. Bina is to understand the details. And Das means it's mine. Das means it's mine. Now what happens as soon as he has those three things? Chachma, Bina, Das. When he realizes how good the thing is, what happens? What happens at that point? What do you think? What do you say?
He gets excited.
Excited. Right? A person gets excited. What does he get excited? Love and fear. What does mean love and fear? Yay, I got it. I'm happy. Life is good. All of a sudden, 1 second. Am I on television? Does everybody know about this? Is my name written in the paper? Oh, wow. What am I going to do now? Put it in the bank. No, maybe in the bank, I'll lose it. Maybe I'll lose interest. Maybe the bank will fold. Maybe I'll put it on all of a sudden he's afraid. Emotions. All these things. Before he was a happy guy. He had nothing. He was a little bit hungry. All of a sudden now he's excited. He's big. He's great. Right? I told you the joke. Did I tell you the joke about the guy knocks on the fellow's door? I told you the joke. Knocks on Sam and Joe. They're two poor people, two poor Jews that live in New York, and they bought a ticket. They split a ticket for the lottery. Sam is a good friend with the people in the lottery. They make the lottery in the nighttime. They make the lottery, and they owe him. Their ticket comes up. His friend calls him up in the middle of the night. Says, Sam, good news, you won. It's going to be announced tomorrow in the newspaper, your number. Get your card ready. He says, well, this is great. He goes to his friend, Max, or whatever I said his friend is. He goes to his friend, knocks on the door, 3 in the morning, comes to the door all groggy with his pajamas. Says, what do you want? Sam, what do you want? What are you knocking on my door? He says, Max, good news. We won the lottery. We won the lottery. 20 million, 10 million for you, 10 million for me. We won the lottery, right? Max, that's great. Max says, Sam, what are you, some sort of a nut? Tell me, are you out of your mind? You're sick. You disgusting. I don't believe you. Haven't you got any manners, any sense? He says, what are you mad at me? What's wrong with you? What do you mean drop dead? Get out of my sight. I don't want to see. What's wrong? What are you angry? He said, mainly you come knocking on a person's door at 3 o'clock in the morning, an ordinary person, but I'm a millionaire. What are you knocking on my door for 3 o'clock in the morning, waking me up? You understand? He all of a sudden he realized he was a millionaire. He changed his whole being. As soon as a person understands something, he gets in his mind, all of a sudden there's emotions. It says, Seichel gives birth to midos. Seichel gives birth to emotions. Good? It says, which is not the case, faith and understanding. Faith doesn't give birth to understanding. Ve'im lo, and if there is, im lo yesh, if there is not, leida samida, if you understand the goodness of something, and it doesn't give birth to any emotions, harizeh, this is, mipene, because, is a siba, some reason. The person realizes, he understands that he has $1 million, he just won $1 million, he just won a diamond, and he doesn't get excited, something's wrong. Kamo, like mitzad helam. Maybe it could be some sort of a blockage, vehester, and a concealment, shemonea, that it prevents, umeakev, and delays, leidat, giving birth, hamochin, from the understanding, from your brains. And there was intellect, mochin, always gives birth to emotions if the thing is valuable. Ubeseichel, in intellect, harei behold, nase amida, even in your intellect, there is made an emotion. Shebekol hasaga, that anytime you have an idea, v'hitbonanut, or contemplation, hari hu, behold, he mitpa'el, gets excited, bimocho, in his brain. We're talking now about the godly soul. We're talking about ideas about God. Anytime that you get an idea about God, you should be excited either in your heart or at least in your mind. At least in your mind you should be excited. Shalo yihiyeh v'shalo, and if there is not, shalo yihiyeh, and if there is not, gam also, hitpa'alut sichli, if even in your mind you don't get excited, zeo, this is, mipenei, because of, hitalmut, concealing. Are you with me, Akiva?
Yes.
Concealment. Bioter, very much. If you read a mimer and you don't get excited about God, you read about God's closeness, about God's oneness, about God's power, about God's goodness, and you don't get excited, something's really wrong. And what is really wrong? Hu inyan, this is the topic of timtum hamoach, that your brain is stuffed up. Shezeo, that this is, why is it that a person can read ideas about God and he doesn't at least get intellectually stimulated? Why? Mitzad, because of hitgabrut, the overpowering hachumri of the physical, bioter, very much. Fa'azai, then, gam, also, hahasaga, understanding, eno hasaga, is not understanding mamash. In other words, if you understand an idea about God, the Rebbe is guaranteeing you, if you understand an idea about God, then you will get excited. Where do we learn this from? Where can we see this? One example, we say Shema every morning. We say Shema, right? Shema Yisrael. What does Shema mean? It means understand. What do we say? Shema Yisrael, understand, Jews, Hashem Elokeinu, God is our God. Hashem Echad, God is one. When Jewish people understand what is God, what's the result? When you understand the next sentence, what's the next sentence? Ve'ahavta, you will love God with all of your heart, with all of your might. If you understand God, you for sure will come to love God. There's a saying, if I thought God was what you thought, I also wouldn't believe in Him. Right? If you have the right idea of what God is, then you will always have love of God, always. And if you don't, something's wrong. There's something that's wrong. And of course, that's the problem in the world. Something is wrong. Right? You have, like in communist Russia, you teach a person about God, he doesn't know what you're talking about. You know, can you eat it? Can you... Sorry to see you suffering like that. Really, I am. The electricity wasn't working last night in the dorms. No. So it was really warm. Yeah, they cut some sort of electricity line. Why, where else wasn't it working? Really? For the whole night? Oh, the whole night. So at least they weren't. Misery loves company, so at least you weren't alone. It makes you happier already. All right. But I felt bad, I didn't turn on the air conditioner in my house. I felt bad. I had at least a little sympathy, even though I slept on a nice bed. And there was a fan going on. I couldn't make my wife suffer. Okay, let's go. If you understand God, you will always get excited about God. Either intellectually or even more excited, even emotionally. You'll get excited. But at least you should have some excitement. And if you don't get excited, then there's something wrong. What does the Rebbe want from all this? To show you that emotions are created by intelligence. Intelligence, awareness, creates emotions. You'll learn other places not exactly creates, but for our purposes we'll say creates. They obligate emotion, which is not the case Chachma and Bina. Faith does not obligate understanding. They are two separate things. We'll see. All right, again, intellect obligates emotions. Either emotions, excitement in your heart, or at least in your mind. And if you don't, there's what's called timtum halev or timtum hamoach. Either your heart is stuffed up to God, or your mind is stuffed up to God. And this is mitzad because of hitkabru tachumri. There's a side reason why there are sometimes that intellect does not give birth to emotions, because something's wrong. Either the person is too crass, beyoter. Fa'azai then kam hasaga, even the understanding, ein o hasaga, it's not really understanding. Aval, but below that, without any interference or interruption, haya nasa, there would be made hitpa'alut, excitement, emotions, seichel of your mind at least. Why is it that if you have the right idea about God, you get excited unless there's something wrong? Why? Hu mipenei is because sha'seichel, that intellect mechayev et amida. Intellect obligates, or it causes, it forces, it necessitates emotions. I'll tell you another story that's a really very terrible story, but in the time of the Alter Rebbe, especially in the time of the third Rebbe of Chabad, the Tzemach Tzedek, this is about 200 years ago, there was very, very powerful and popular, what was called the intellectual movement, the Enlightenment movement. These were Jews who were religious. They had been religious. They learned Torah. And they decided, why should we fight against the non-Jews all of our lives? Why should we fight? It's a wonderful world. The non-Jews have this wonderful world of art and music and philosophy and fun. Simple fun. You can just do what you want, enjoy whatever you want. Just do what you want, when you want, with who you want. There's certain laws. You're not supposed to take somebody else's wife. But generally speaking, and here in Judaism, you can't eat this, you can't do that, you can't say this, you can't marry this, you can't marry this, and you have to learn these books, black and white. Here we have these beautiful plays with operas, with science, with wonderful things. So there was a lot of Jews that opted out. But they felt that they had an obligation to their Jewish brothers to also take them away from Judaism. The older people, it was pretty hard, but with the children, they had success. They had success, and they took the children. They would go into communities and pose as teachers of children. In Chabad, generally in the Hasidic world, they didn't succeed that much, but they did have success. They certainly did. So, one of the ways they would do it was they would pose as a shochet, a ritual slaughterer. And they would go in, and before they would slaughter the animal, they would make a little nick in the knife on their button or something. They would make a little nick. And if you make a little nick in the knife, that disqualifies the knife, and it means that the animal is not kosher. Not kosher. So they would make the people eat not kosher food. When people ate not kosher food, then all of a sudden, for some strange reason, the ideas about God didn't excite them anymore. They didn't, and the things about the world suddenly excited them. They started, why? If a person eats not kosher food, it actually has an effect on his heart and even on his mind. It's pretty strange, right? Very strange. There was even a story, a well-known story, that a woman came into the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe and said that her son was a normal boy and everything. All of a sudden, he's got these ideas about Catholicism, whatever it is, believing in this oath. So asking all these questions about, who was Yashkala and what did he do and what's so interesting. They showed him, the Rambam says it's just idolatry. Idolatry is popular. We see that the golden calf was very popular. Right? People didn't help. Child wanted to know, he's very interested, wanted to go to the church, wanted this. So what's the story? Explain something good you see over there. What's it? I don't know. He just says he's drawn to it. So they went to the previous Rebbe and they asked him what. And the previous Rebbe said, you have to check the milk that you drink. It could be that you're not drinking Chalav Yisrael. Chalav Yisrael. Now, there's a lot of people a lot of Jews, religious Jews, and they drink milk that's not Chalav Yisrael and doesn't do anything to them. But this child, it had an effect on him. And sure enough, they checked the milk and they found it wasn't what's called Chalav Yisrael. It means that it's observed by a Jew from the time it's milked from the animal. There's a Jew standing there all the time to make sure that the milk only comes from cows. It doesn't come from any other. Who milks other animals? But nevertheless, that you have to have. It's a law. It's a Mishnah, in fact. You have to have somebody watching this. It's a spiritual thing. The people thought, what's the big deal? You have to pay extra money for it. It's milk. It's milk. Who brings a giraffe or something? Not a giraffe, a pig. You have pig milk. Who brings a horse? Nobody, right? Sneak a couple of horses in there. Nobody does it. It doesn't mean it. But nevertheless, it's a law. And if you don't do it, it seems it has some sort of an effect, right? It says that what's the effect that it has? Timtum alev. His heart gets stuffed up, and he wants to believe in something, but the God is too big, so he wants to believe in a person and everything. Understand? So it has an effect on it. That's why being a shochet is very, very important. You have to have a lot of fear of God. Okay, this is called the stuffing of the brain. But anytime a person has an idea about God, it mechayev, it obligates the emotion. 141. We're going over this because Akiva didn't get it, and it's also pretty difficult anyway. Masha Einkein, which is not the case, Chachma and Bina. Hare behold, Chachma eino mechayeves. Chachma does not obligate, it does not create at the Bina. Chachma does not create Bina. She'eino muchrachas. It's not forced. There can be a person that has Chachma, he's a tremendous believer in God, but he doesn't have any understanding. There's no understanding. The Gam, Mishiyesh Bo Koach Chachma, that even a person that does have Chachma, Eino Mukhrach, is not necessary. That there will be. Gam can also Koach Bina. Now put a parenthesis over here. Do you have it? Put a parenthesis over here. Mr. Smith, put a parenthesis. If not, it's very hard to understand. Ukamo, and like, Sheyesh Mi, that there are some people, Shahu, that they are Bal Havana, that they have understanding, Be'eno Bal Hasaga. Yeah, Bal Hasaga. He understands things, but Eno Bal Hasaga. But he can't get new ideas. I think this is the way I understand it. It could be that I'm wrong, but this is the way I understand it, because I couldn't understand that other words. Put an end of the parentheses. Okay, now we're talking about a end parentheses. Just like some people have Bina, but they don't have Chachma. Now we're going back to a person that has Chachma and he doesn't have Bina. Shabakocho, that he has, it's in his power. Lahaskil, to understand, to renew. Haskalot chadashot, new ideas. Ve'eno masig, and he does not understand. Gam, even. Haskalot elo, these ideas. Shu maskil, that he invents. In other words, we can have tremendous inspiration from God and new ideas of the oneness of God, and he can all of a sudden flashes of how God he can be a poet. The guy can be a poet. He can write songs about God and how much, but he doesn't understand anything. He doesn't understand it, right? He could talk about the one, how God is the wind in the trees and the soul in our bodies and the light of our eyes and everything is God. Wonderful, beautiful, inspiring things. If you ask him a question about God, he has no understanding whatsoever, right? I don't understand nothing. Nothing whatsoever. We can't understand anything that he says. But there's people that have new ideas, wonderful ideas, but they can't understand them. Hare, so what do we see? Ha-chachma, tar-chachma, and those having conceptions, or in our case, faith. Eino machraches, it does not force or obligate or create et bina. Why? Ki, because yeshla, there is to it. There is to chachma, there is to the power of faith, of awareness of God, makor, a source, miuchad, special, bifnei atzmo, on its own. Bekoach hamaskil, in the power of maskil. Now, what's this power of maskil? We talked before about this. We talked about Eitan. Remember we talked about maskil Eitan? It was at the end of the first chapter. Maskil. The koach hamaskil. What is the thing called? Koach hamaskil is the source of consciousness. It's above consciousness. That's in our soul. The source of consciousness is called the koach hamaskil. Seichel, in our case, means chachma, means awareness. Maskil means it causes awareness. This is what we call the koach hamaskil. In the koach hamaskil, in this power of the source of awareness, there's one source of chachma and a separate source of bina. Hisrachvus, the wideness, shebabina, of understanding, he is mikoach hamaskil atzmo, from the essence of this power of maskil.
So you saying koach can be, normally it means strength,
Koach means strength, koach also means potential. Potential. And koach means the power of.
But here we're translating it always as source.
No, koach hamaskil means the